Welcome to my introductory video for microeconomic principles during the summer session of 2016 at Rutgers University McCamden campus. My name is Professor Guy Pascal. Number one, make sure that you read and understand the syllabus that is posted for the course. In this video, I will go over particular sections of the syllabus that are vitally important, but it is my expectation that you have read and understood everything that is on the syllabus. If you read something and it's vague or you do not understand, make sure that you email me to get clarification. The syllabus itself lays out how the course is going to operate during the 4 weeks of the summer session. It will also outline what your responsibilities are and will outline what my responsibilities are. So make sure that you read this thoroughly and understand what is expected of you. Realize too that because this is a summer session course, it only occurs over 4 weeks, where a normal spring or fall session occurs over 15 weeks. Because of this, you are going to be expected to do that much more work for the course. So make sure that you realize this. Number one, do not wait until the very last moment, or in this instance for a summer class, the weekend, to try and do all of the work for the course. If you do this, you will in all likelihood adversely affect your grade. My experience is for the summer session courses that most students will spend somewhere between 24 and 34 hours per week working on this course. And that translates roughly to the equivalent amount of work that would occur if the course were a 15-week course. So make sure you remember that this is a truncated session and that we are compressing 15 weeks of work into a 4-week session. So be aware of that ahead of time. Do not put off and procrastinate and wait till the weekend to start doing the work, because that is a recipe for doing poorly in the course. As you can see right here, even though it's an online course, we are required to still have office hours. I am in Armitage Hall in room 332, and my office hours will be on Fridays between 3 and 6 p.m. Also, we can make arrangements to have a special appointment outside of that time in order to meet. Please note that students should email me and tell me that they are going to come to my office hours on that Friday. If I receive no emails from students stating that they are coming to my office hours, the office hours will be canceled. So make sure that if you intend to see me during the posted office hours, that you email me with that intent prior to the office hours. In particular, make sure you email me prior to Thursday night at 11 p.m. So again, if nobody is going to be coming to my office hours, the office hours will be canceled. Here's my email: pascal@camden.rutgers.edu. That is the best way to reach me. The phone number is listed here. I would recommend that you not use the phone number. Email is much better. Unfortunately, with the phone number, I share that office with 7 other people. So there are 7 other people who use that phone. There's no guarantee that I'll get the message, etc. Also, if you leave confidential information, there's no guarantee that I will be the person listening to it. So I have it posted here, but I would highly recommend not using the phone number. Just email me. It's the best way to do it. The textbook is Principle of Microeconomics by Case, Fair, and Oster from Pearson Publishing. It's the 12th edition. Make sure that you get the most recent edition. It has recently been updated from the 11th edition. Also, I would recommend that you not purchase a used textbook for this course. The reason being is that if you purchase a used textbook, there's no guarantee that the access code that it's included with that used textbook is still valid. I've had a number of instances in the past where students bought used textbooks and were told by whoever they purchased it from, that the access code was included, and it was not included. It had already been used by somebody else. I would recommend that you purchase directly from Pearson. There's a significant cost advantage in doing so. If you go onto my Econ Lab in the syllabus and intro section, or in the resources, you will see that there are enrollment instructions. This allows you to purchase the e-text and access to my Econ Lab together. It's very cost effective. Last time I checked, it was somewhere around $105 to $110 for the textbook and the e-text and the access to my Econ Lab. Whereas the retail price of the textbook, paper textbook, and the access code was like $250. So that I would highly recommend that. The other reason I recommend it, besides the cost savings, is the fact that the e-text and my Econ Lab are integrated together. For example, if you're working on problems and you're having an issue with it, there's an area that you click on that looks like a textbook, which will take you to the area of the textbook immediately so that you can review the material to continue working on a particular problem. So it's quite efficient in that respect. Here's the course outline. Just make sure you read through this. This just gives you an overview of the types of material and concepts that we are going to be covering in here. The most important ones are the supply, demand, and the basic functioning of markets. That's very important. Trade-offs, we're going to be looking at something called the production possibilities frontier. That is also very important. Elasticity, the use of elasticity in economics, consumer choice and household behavior, profit maximization, the importance of the difference between long-run and short-run costs, how firms look at costs and the decisions they make on how much output, the spectrum of competition, perfect competition, monopoly, oligopoly, monopolistic competition. We look at the demand for land, labor, and capital. We also look at externalities, public goods, and social choice, income distribution, and poverty. Realize that so I refer to the 4 weeks as modules. So the course is divided into 4 modules, and they're roughly 1 week long. The first week is a little bit shorter because of Memorial Day. And the last week is a little bit shorter because it ends on a Thursday and not on a Sunday. So make sure you realize that. Each of the modules has an online test. And at the very end of this appendix, we have an outline of the chapters covered, the assignments, opening and closing dates, etc. So make sure you have that available. So if you have any questions about what's due and when. Also, generally what I will do is each week I will send out reminder notices through Sakai, so that people remember what they're supposed to do. Also, this is just for my own personal benefit because sometimes I've had students say, well, I didn't know that something was due. And if I send out email notifications twice during the week, students do not have that excuse saying they did not know. Grading, there are 18 homework assignments, 18 quizzes, and 4 tests. You will receive feedback on the above within 24 hours. For the homeworks and quizzes, you can do them an unlimited number of times. Homework questions, each one, if you get it wrong, you can go back and work on it again and use the materials that are available in my Econ Lab. Quizzes, you can take an unlimited number of times. So realize that each homework question, if you get it wrong, you can go back and work on it. If you want, you can work on it as many times as you want to improve your grade. I've had students in the past who spend quite a bit of time working on the homework, which is generally a good idea because the quiz questions and the test questions come directly from the same questions that are used in the homework. So if you spend the time on the homeworks and understand the questions in the homeworks, necessarily you're going to be better prepared for the quizzes and the tests. Realize that the highest grades will count towards your final grade for the course, and that the quizzes have a 30-minute time limit. The tests, there's 1 test each week. So we have 4 tests. You could take them 3 times, and again, the highest grade will count towards your grade for the course. There's a 120-minute time limit on each of the tests. Here's how the breakdown of how your grades are going to be given to you. Your homework assignments are worth 40%, the quiz is 20%, and the tests are 40%. I have the homework assignments as equal weight of tests because of the fact that if you work on the homework assignments and understand the homework assignments and put the time into the homework assignments, this will necessarily improve your quizzes and your test scores. So make sure you realize that your homework assignments are 40% of your grade. The quiz is slightly less and the tests are 40%. Your grades will be given in the following fashion. An A is going to be greater than or equal to a 90. A B plus is going to be equal to greater than or equal to an 85 but less than a 90. A B is going to be greater than or equal to 80 but less than 85. A C plus is going to be greater than or equal to 75 and less than 80%. A C is going to be greater than or equal to 70 and less than 70%. A D is going to be greater than or equal to 60% and less than 70%. And an F is going to be equal to less than 60%. Also realize there is no extra credit for the course. I do not give extra credit. I never have given extra credit for a course. So, for example, if you mess up, the only way you're going to do any better is to improve your score on subsequent modules that are out there. All right? So make sure you put the time and the effort into it when it is necessary because there is no extra credit available for the course. Deadlines, I'm very serious about students making their deadlines. As I will talk about later on, I run my own business, so as a part-time faculty member, my major influence is the fact that I run my own business and the importance of meeting your deadlines. I try to stress that with students. If I don't make my deadlines, I don't get paid, I lose contracts, I have to lay people off. If you've never been in the position of running your own business and laying people off, it's not an easy thing to do. So I am very, very serious about the fact that students should meet all deadlines. Also, I realize that if you need an extension, that is also acceptable as long as you request the extension prior to the deadline itself. This is very important because in the business world, as long as you notify somebody, listen, I know I told you this was going to be, I'm going to have this to you on Monday, but there's some issues. I'm going to work on a few other things. Can I get this to you by Tuesday? Make sure you do the same. If you ask for an extension via email prior to the extension, I will approve of the extension. Generally, I will give students a one-day extension without penalty, without question. Generally, this occurs as long as you request the extension prior to the due date. If you ask me for an extension after the due date, it will not be granted, and the penalties for lateness are as follows. You will get, if you are late by up to 24 hours, there's a 30% penalty. And for every 24-hour time period, there is an additional 10%. So once you're late by 1 hour, you are going to get a 30% penalty. And that for each additional 24-hour period, there's going to be a 10% increase in that penalty. So make sure you're aware of that. Number one, the harshness of the penalties for being late and the fact that you should require, if you need an extension, ask for that extension prior to the deadline. If I give you an extension and you miss that deadline, then you will start with a 40% penalty for being 24 hours late. So if you request an extension, you should be on time because you're going to get hit with a very heavy penalty for missing an extended deadline. If I give you 1 day, it's going to be 40%. If I give you 2 days and you're late, it's going to start with 50%, and then it's going to increase by 10% for each additional day. Also, make sure that you realize that if you're requesting extensions each week, you're just cutting into your time for doing work for the next week. So because of the truncated period, I do give extensions, but it does limit the amount of time you're going to have to work on other assignments. Also realize that, again, most of the time I give a 1-day extension without question. So make sure you realize that. If you have some kind of medical issue, I can make accommodations to these rules. However, you have to have appropriate documentation. Just telling me you're sick is not appropriate. You're going to have to give me a doctor's note that you were under the doctor's care and that whatever was wrong with you, and I don't really care what was wrong with you, it's none of my business what medical issues you have, but the medical condition prevented you from working on online coursework. Okay, don't give me documentation saying, oh, they were unable to attend class. We don't have classes. We do stuff online. So therefore, your documentation should indicate from your doctor that you are incapable of doing, getting online, etc., doing the online coursework. Email correspondence. Make sure you identify the course. This is not as important during the summer session. I only teach one class during each summer session. This is mostly for when I'm teaching during the spring and fall, and I get emails from students and say they don't even identify what class they're in, so I have to spend time figuring out what class they're in. Make sure you clearly explain the issue that you face and write in a manner that is consistent with professional correspondence. That means do not write like you're texting somebody. Write like you're writing professional correspondence. All right, refer to me as Professor Pascal and explain your issue. This is because I have found, particularly over the last 5 to 10 years, that the emails I get from students, a lot of times I can't figure out what they're writing. So spend the time to actually write a professionally written piece of email. After you write it, go back and read it before you send it out and go, does this make sense? It's very important. I think this is a skill that, especially being a business owner and dealing with businesses, that one of the things I hear about recent graduates is that their correspondence or email correspondence skills are atrocious. So it's a good idea to start writing in a professional fashion now, so that when you get out in the labor market, that your correspondence is adherent to those kind of standards. There's nothing worse than emailing your boss and writing something to them and having them email you back going, I have no idea what you've written here. This makes absolutely no sense. Because the boss themselves will feel like you're wasting their time. And at some point they're going to think, why did I hire this person in the first place? So this might be a little bit of a shock to students, that my expectation is that you write professionally. I will not be real difficult with people. I might email you and say, I don't understand what this is. Could you please clarify? All right. So make sure that when you write the email, you write it out and then read it to make sure it makes sense. There's a disability statement from Rutgers, a statement on collaboration, i.e. academic integrity, and the appendix at the end. It outlines the week. So week 1 is module 1, week 2 is module 2, week 3 is module 3, and week 4 is module 4. It gives the opening and closing dates and times for each of the weeks. It lists out the homework and quizzes that are due that week and the test that is due that week. So this outlines your schedule for the 4 weeks. This is also in Sakai. I have set up in Sakai the resources that are available, announcements, syllabus and intro, etc. But each of the weeks is available. There's a different tab in Sakai for each of the weeks. Realize that all of what we are doing is within my econ lab. Rutgers requires that if it's an online class, that you use Sakai as a portion of it. So realize that there are 2 media that are available. My Econ Lab is where all the work is going to be done. And then we have Sakai, which is sort of the administrative end of the course. And also realize that I outline each of the modules themselves with the chapters that are going to be covered and the tests that are there. For the final part, I guess I probably should just give you a little background about myself. I have a bachelor's degree in economics and a master's degree in economics, both from Rutgers University. The bachelor's degree I received from Rutgers Camden, and the master's degree I received from Rutgers New Brunswick. I have been teaching at the university level since 1993. I've taught on the Rutgers Camden campus and the Rutgers New Brunswick campus. I have also taught at different universities. I taught at Holy Family University and Westchester University, briefly just filling in for individuals. As I said, my background, I own my own business. I do healthcare consulting, health economics type of research. So that's my main field of expertise. I have taught a number of classes. If you look at my bio on the economics department website, you'll see that I've pretty much taught every course that's been offered by Rutgers Camden over the last 23 years. So that's basically my introductory video for the summer session of 2016. Make sure that number one, you read the syllabus and understand the syllabus. This outlines all that my expectations from you and what you should expect from me during the semester. In particular, that if you email me, you should get a response within 24 hours. That's my goal for myself. Also, and I'm sorry I didn't bring this up, I also have created videos for particular items. If you go into Sakai and you click on the particular week that we are in, you will see that there are videos on particular subjects. Please note that the videos themselves are not required. Students do not have to watch them, but they are designed for individuals who are having issues with a particular topic. So if you are struggling with supply and demand and equilibrium, etc., there's a video that reviews that. If we're talking about utility maximization, there's a video relating to that. Note that the videos themselves are more technical subjects, i.e. the graphs. The reason I did this is because when students are reading the textbook, you get a static graph of what the graph looks like at the end after a number of things have occurred. And I found that a lot of times students get lost looking at this and then reading chronologically what happens, and they have difficulty visualizing it. So the videos themselves are basically recreating those graphs, except it's doing it in a step-by-step basis, so you can see chronologically this occurred, what happened to the graph, etc. Something else occurred, this happened to the graph. So you can stop and understand each of the steps that get you to that static graph in the textbook. You can understand every intermediary step that occurs for that particular graph. So make sure you avail yourselves of that. Remember that they're not required. They're only there for students who are struggling. If you don't understand a particular graph of concept, now the videos themselves might span a number of the graphs that are in your textbook. So make sure you avail yourselves of that those videos are there and that they're intended for individuals who are struggling with a particular topic.